Hello again, I am Darren Cope, owner of Cope & Co, specialist letting agent based in Derby in the East Midlands. Now, the new Renters' Rights Bill, sweeping changes that's going to result in a dramatic shift in the private rental sector as we know it for both landlords and agents. Now, this is the third in a series of videos in which I explain the different aspects of the Renters' Rights Bill, what it means for landlords and what as an agent we can do to help landlords negotiate the changes. Okay, so let's dive into this one. Now, in my previous video I mentioned about the various grounds or legal reasons that can be used when serving a Section 8 to regain possession of a property and the difference between mandatory and discretionary grounds. Now, in this video I'm going to delve into arguably one of the mandatory grounds that will be used a lot in the new Renters' Rights Bill. And this is when a landlord either wishes to sell the property, move back into the property themselves, or move in a family member. So, landlord decides to sell the investment property currently occupied by a tenant. Now, in the old world, simple. Serve a Section 21, Bob's your uncle, but not anymore. Now, in the new world, this is called a mandatory ground 1A when used in the Section 8 process. And it entails a new 12-month protected period, which will be introduced at the beginning of the tenancy, during which landlords cannot evict tenants to either sell, move back in, or move relatives in. Also, a 4-month notice period will be required before possession proceedings can even start. Now, a couple of important points to clarify here, which I know from my social media conversations have been rather confusing. So firstly, the 4-month period must expire after the 12-month protected period. Now, what that means is that the 4 months notice can be given on the first day of month 9 of the tenancy, which then means that the notice will then expire at the end of the 12-month protected period. It'll be in sync. Then and only then can possession proceedings commence. Now, another important point is the date on which the Renters' Rights Bill actually becomes law and how this relates to the 12-month protected period. So, if the bill becomes law on, say, the 1st of May 2025, the 12-month protected period doesn't start from that date. It starts from the original start date of the tenancy. Even though they're all going to switch over to effectively periodic, you go back to the start of the tenancy to see when that 12-month protected period starts. So in this example, if the tenancy start date was the 1st of Feb 25, for example, this is the date that the 12-month protected period begins. If a tenant has been in the property for over a year on the date that the bill comes law, the protected period won't even be necessary. So what if all these correct processes are followed and the property ends up not being sold for whatever reason? Well, landlords will, agents will be unable to remarket or relet the property for a new restricted period. Now, this restricted period is 12 months from the later of either the relevant date in the notice, which is the date 4 months after the notice is served, or the date when a claim form or particulars of a claim are filed with the court to bring proceedings for possession. It's rather confusing. So if a property is remarketed within this restricted period, it will be deemed an offence and penalties will ensue. And as I've said before, these penalties can be very steep indeed. So it comes down to, if a landlord wishes to sell the property and use ground 1A, what evidence can a landlord provide the court of an intention to sell? Now, the bill does not mandate what evidence needs to be provided to sell a property, but examples of what could be provided are proof that an estate agent has been instructed or proof that a solicitor has been instructed. However, at the end of the day, there's no evidence on earth that results in an intended sale actually completing. So it's a bit of a strange one. At the end of the day, the bill allows landlords to use ground 1A to sell a property with vacant possession if they can convince the court of their genuine intention to sell. However, it still doesn't negate the restricted period being applied if the property doesn't sell. Okay, so what about a landlord wishing to move in themselves, move back in, or move in a family member? Now, the 4-month notice period, the 12-month protected period, the 12-month restricted period for remarketing all remain the same. Now, just for clarity, moving in a relative, the lawful occupants in this scenario are, and bear with me, the landlord's spouse or civil partner, or a person with whom the landlord lives, as if they were married or in a civil partnership, the landlord's parent, grandparent, sibling, child, grandchild. Right, this one is straight from the bill itself, and it's off to Hogwarts we go. Now, a relationship of the half-blood is to be treated as a relationship of the whole blood. Half-blood share one parent, for example, same mother, different fathers. Whole bloods share both parents. Now, where muggles come into it, I have no idea, but that's what is stated. Now, these grounds for possession may sound very complicated, and you probably have to read it a couple of times to actually understand what it means. However, it's the same advice as I've given previously. Understand the notice periods, understand the timescales and what they mean. Amass as much evidence as you can to support your claim, and be very organised with your documents. It's massively important moving forward. Now, finally, we have created a unique new service for landlords, which will help landlords negotiate the impact of this bill. What we've done, we've bundled all of our lettings and property management services together in one simple monthly payment. Now, to understand a bit more, please watch the final video in the series on our unique Let Simple service. It's a game changer. We're here to support you, obviously, in any way we can. So contact us on any aspect of the bill, contact us on anything to do with letting your property. Please don't hesitate to get in touch on anything to do with letting, residential lettings. Now, this video and all the other Renters' Rights Bill videos can be accessed at rentersrightsbill.com. Again, thanks for watching. I hope that you found the information useful.